Welcome back to the North American Challenger Series. We have game 2 of back and forth games between Big Gods Jackals and eUnited coming up. Despite having an early lead and winning lanes both in the top lane and the bottom lane for RF Legendary, who was starting for Big Gods Jackals, and Fabi, they fell to eUnited's decisive shot calling and just superior map movements in game 1.
Right. I mean, this is one of the things that I think made eUnited one of the prominent members in the Challenger Series, was the fact that they had a very decisive team in terms of picking team fights. So we saw a number of times that when they decide to press the go button, they go. And Big God Jackals flubbed a couple things that really allowed them to decide, hey, this is when we should actually start this fight or this objective. Yeah,
and even though eUnited were starting the Dragon, there's a big fight that comes up here. Big Gods Jackals blow these cooldowns, and after the ensuing fight after this, because there's no cooldowns, they collapse on them from the side of eUnited. They're able to capitalize on this, win the fight, and then eventually go towards the Baron.
Right, I mean, you saw that the Rumble ult and Rengar ult were both used very early on, and they didn't really do a ton of damage. So United's able to turn for an initial kill, and then they're able to kite this out for a fairly long extended fight and push right up the mid lane after it. And you see Big God Jackals struggling to get some kind of damage done, and it leads them right over to that Baron buff, like you were saying. And they just say, all right, well, let's just start Baron. And they have a really strong team comp for doing it, a lot of damage. Big God Jackals don't want to give it up. Totally free to eUnited, so they teleport RF Legendary in, but they're able to CC him up. Wiggly tries to take the blast cone over the wall. He does get a smite off, but it goes down, and then there you see it. It's a totally crazy fight, but that's what we're talking about. eUnited, they decide that they're going to do something, and this could easily be a play that doesn't work out, but it does. They get a number of kills, and you see just how ridiculously long this whole sequence was.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only Baron that eUnited were able to bait in. They were starting a Baron later on in the game, but as soon as Big Gods Jackals came to contest, the trap was sprung, and eUnited jump on them.
Right, and Licorice did a fairly good job this entire game kind of frontlining and making sure that the back line of eUnited had targets that they could focus down. Not afraid to be aggressive either, flashes the wall, sending his team up, and it was a very close series. You can see how close these team fights are. RF Legendary almost able to turn that back, but it ends up being a 3-0 for eUnited, who were able to close the game out right after that.
And you mentioned Licorice being a very tanky presence on that front line. He himself has been a driving force from eUnited, a rookie to the Challenger Series, but still very, very impressive. But why don't we move on into game number 2? So let's check out the starting lineups. Loading in on the blue side this game, it's going to be Big Gods Jackals. Their top laner still RF Legendary. In the jungle, it's Wiggly. Mid lane is Peek and Woof, and their bottom lane combo of Fabi and Bayana.
And on the red side, it's Team eUnited. Top lane is Licorice, jungle Gilius, mid lane Fox. They got that EU synergy. Bot lane is Deathly, and support is Zazel.
So quite a back and forth game for both of these. And, you know, because of Tempo Storm's sweep in their series, the only thing at stake for these two teams here is playoff seeding. eUnited came into this week as the #1 team at 8 points. Big Gods Jackals was in that three-way tie for second place at 6. They're no longer going to be tied there after this because they can only get 7 points if they tie the series here.
Right, so it's exciting overall because we could be seeing a lot of the finals teams playing, especially right here. Who knows? The whole Challenger Series is so close just in terms of what the team's strength seems to be.
Yeah, and in particular, the strength has kind of been the top lane matchup. We mentioned already, Licorice was extremely, extremely strong. You know, now he's going up against RF Legendary. He's had a little bit of back and forth performances. He got subbed out for Chris last week, but I mean, on social media this week, RF's been extremely vocal about the fact that scrims are going extremely well. He felt like he was a more vocal point for his team's communication. It seemed to be going extremely strong in this game. He had advantages in game number 1.
Right, I mean, I think coming into this matchup, you would have said, oh, Licorice is going to, you know, outperform RF Legendary, but RF Legendary gets the counter pick with the Rumble into Poppy and actually played really well on it. And although they weren't able to win team fights, I think that showed that they had enough confidence to stick with him. RF Legendary going to be in for game 2 again, and hopefully they continue with their strong early game, but are actually able to win some of these mid and late game team fights.
We'll see if that LCS experience buff kicks in game number 2 or not. RF Legendary, of course, was part of Team Renegades, did decently on that team as well, and he's kind of been a perennial challenger appearance. He's made his way back and forth to the LCS a handful of times. Licorice, this is his first challenger split in general. We actually didn't even see him at the North American Scouting Grounds. You know, he's kind of floated around a couple of practice squads, a couple of challenger teams previously. This is his first time on the big stage. He's making quite a name for himself.
I mean, I think that's kind of the story for eUnited. You see Fox and Gilius, players with former synergy in EU, and you think, okay, they're going to bring that over. That's going to be a big deal, and it is. But I think the bigger storyline is the fact that the rookies on eUnited have stepped up definitely as well at the AD carry position, has looked extremely strong, you know, all series. So we're going to have to see if he can continue to have big games. As in the pick ban phase, we see Jace taken away yet again. Seems to be a heavy target in the pick ban phase these days, as well as some bot lane focus from Big God Jackals, banning out the Malzahar and Zyra. eUnited on the flip side, taking away that Varus, a very common first pick, as well as the Rengar, which is still seeing a lot of bans on the red side.
Yeah, we did actually see that Wiggly was playing the Rengar in game number 1, so it wound up going through in that pick and ban phase, but United not wanting to have to deal with it this time around now that they are going to be on the red side themselves. The last ban coming in is actually going to be being Shen. So Shen's kind of crept up in the power rankings of being kind of one of those top lane tanks. You've seen him a lot already tonight. We saw Delta Fox playing him. Maokai got slight nerfs to himself. You know, Nautilus not necessarily scaling into the later stages of the game, but Shen also offers that ridiculous split push presence.
Yeah, I think Shen's one of those ones that the stronger team you are, the more you benefit from Shen. And so we've seen it's been a little bit of a struggle for some of these teams tonight in terms of using the Shen pick to its utmost potential. If you're using a Shen reactively, that can be fine, but Shen's at his best when he's able to start forcing multiple global plays on you. So we'll have to see if teams are able to start using that better. Here it gets banned out, so might be the last time we see it tonight, but we're likely to have some tiebreakers, so we'll have to see. Big God Jackals going with the first pick. LeBlanc, still an extremely strong mid laner, often banned out. Here's the first time we're going to see it tonight.
Yeah, and on the flip side, we're going to see the Ashe and the Graves. So double marksman very quickly picked up for the side of eUnited. You mentioned definitely has shown extremely good performances in his own rookie split here in the North American Challenger Series.
A lot of them on Ashe.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ashe is one of his undefeated champions, 2-0 on that champion. Caitlyn, the other one he's undefeated on. So these longer range, bully-oriented bottom laners, things he can get those CS advantages and pressure the bottom side of the map.
The other thing I like is that they did take the Graves early. Graves' priority hasn't seemed to be too high. You know, we've seen things like the Elise, Kha'Zix still being prioritized pretty highly, but I think a lot of people would say, generally speaking, Graves is the best jungler on the patch, so it's nice to see eUnited grab that early. Big God Jackals are going to grab the Elise like we were talking about, and of course, the Jhin being the other strong utility 80 carry still available.
Yep, they got Fabi on their bottom lane, so he was known for being one of those guys that picked up those utility carries. I think from his time on Team Liquid, when he was on Team Liquid Academy, he said, I want to focus on these utility carries. That's something that Piglet couldn't play. They brought him into Team Liquid. That's what he did extremely well. And now it's back in the metagame again, and this is what Big God Jackals have been trying to play around. When they had Chris in their lineup, they focused a little bit more on like kind of poke composition and went forward as like a team and focused top lane a little bit more. But when RF Legendary has been in the lineup, they've really been focusing down on getting Fabi ahead early.
Right, and we see eUnited round things out with the Ryze pick, one of the other kind of OP mid laners available. It is a very actually difficult matchup for Ryze against the LeBlanc. You do have the targeted lockdown CC, which generally does well against LeBlanc, but it's still a little hard to deal with her early harass. So we'll have to see how Fox does. He's an extremely strong mid laner. eUnited, we talk about how RF Legendary had a great Rumble performance game 1. They don't want to see it game 2.
No, so they actually banned that one away. So RF Legendary drawing a ban from himself, maybe trying to pinch that top lane pool with the Shen already banned away, but they don't have a top laner for themselves. Maybe just more comfortable going to that tank versus tank matchup. Licorice himself played, I don't know, a zillion games of Maokai recently, so... Yeah,
I was about to say, I think it's not a surprise to see the Rumble ban. You don't know if RF, maybe they don't know if RF Legendaries will play that on the tournament game, so once they see it the first time, they say, okay, it's hard to play tanks into Rumble, let's ban the Rumble, open up the rest of Licorice's champ pool, because the entire team seems to play way better when he's able to get his hands on things like the Poppy, Nautilus, or Maokai. Maybe not the Maokai as much anymore, though they do ban out the Nautilus here. Gonna have to see what they're setting themselves up for their top lane pick.
I mean, Poppy is the one tank that's left open. Maokai, like we said, he saw a little bit of nerfs in the more recent patch 7.4, but still potentially pick up available. They are gonna wind up banning away the Fiora, so that does leave open the kind of tank versus tank matchup. eUnited, when you're looking at Licorice's statistics, he's won on every single tank champion and lost when he's played Kennen and Jace. So going for a tank here is probably the way that eUnited wants to go, and they are gonna wind up going over for the Poppy.
Yeah, I mean, the Nautilus pick does make some sense because if you leave the Nautilus up, you prefer playing Poppy for Licorice, obviously, and then the Nautilus is a good pick into the Poppy. So I understand why they wanted to ban it to set themselves up for the Poppy pick, but I was a little scared because Big God Jackals still had a ban available.
Right.
They could have banned the Poppy then and then forced some kind of either, you know, really low tier tank matchup or skill matchup. So I'm a little surprised to see they went with the Fiora, given that you generally know Licorice prefers to play the tanks.
Well, they could have potentially just gone for the Maokai, so maybe they feel more comfortable giving over the Poppy, going for the Maokai. It is going to be something that, you know, normally Nautilus bullies the Maokai around, then Maokai eventually outscales, and this time around it's like Maokai is a big tanky tree, and Poppy kind of doesn't do anything without jungle assistance, and eventually both of them become big unkillable tanks.
Who knows? Because, I mean, it does seem like Maokai's priority has dropped a lot on this patch.
That's true.
It was something that was being seen first picked, and we haven't seen it tonight since it's come out. Not even banned away or anything like that. Teams seem to have just totally deprioritized it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with enough other bans around the top side, I guess
That's
we will see
true.
the Maokai. We'll have to see how it does. This is our first time seeing it on patch 7.4.
All it took was 4 or 5 top lane bans in order for the Maokai to come back.
Yeah, that's all it took. Nothing big.
I mean, hey, that's how many bans they threw at Phoenix in one game. So.
Yeah, and then he played Orianna, a very confident mid lane control mage. Here we see the Thresh coming in as well, and United's going to counter that with the Lulu, so both teams have finalized their team comps. Big God Jackals tend to have a bit more of a pick-oriented team comp here. In the United, fairly standard overall.
Yeah, and this will be very interesting to see Peekaboo picking up the LeBlanc. It's normally been either banned or picked away from Big God's Jackals. He hasn't necessarily favored that style of champion. He's been more for, the poke champion god. We've seen him maybe pick up the Rise as the one he's kind of gone to in the Corki, which is now nerfed and completely untouched in this pick and ban phase. Hasn't been available. The Cinder was something else he went for, but they didn't want to give the LeBlanc over to Fox. They give him the Rise, which he's 3-0 on too. So my main focus in going into this game is going to be, can Peekaboo kind of contain Fox and contain that with the pressure Gilius is going to put in the mid lane as well.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Very interesting team comps. I think I do like the side of Big God Jackals a decent amount. I like that they're going for his pick comps. We've seen them be extremely strong in the Challenger Series. Just last game, Tempo Storm had a pick comp, and they were able to use that to start a lot of fights around the mid lane in their favor. Here, once again, you have a lot of single target lockdowns. So you see not quite as guaranteed as a Malzahar or something, but if the chains land, the Cocoon, the Hook, even the Maokai W potentially setting them up, they do have a lot of ways to combo that CC in.
I mean, I'm a little bit more of a fan of eUnited's composition, but that's purely because I'm looking at my stat sheet right now and seeing that I don't think anybody's lost any of the champions that they have picked up. So
there's a first time for everything, Tom.
I mean, there could be. Anything could happen here. Every other team is split 1-1. Some teams are taking 2-0s against Delta Fox, and every team's taking a 2-0 against Team Gates as they have gone completely winless. But Big God's Jackals could be playing spoiler here because we did have Goldcoin United and Tempo Storm taking 2-0s. That puts them at 9 points. eUnited started tonight at 8 points. If Big God's Jackals takes a game off of eUnited here, that's a 3-way tie for first.
3-way tie for first. That would that'd be the one situation where we don't go to extra games, correct?
Correct. That would be played tomorrow off broadcast because it's not fair making these teams play games well into the 2 or 3 a.m.
More importantly, not making me cast until 3 a.m.
I don't know about you, but I would be hyped to cast like 3 straight. Why don't we go for a full round robin after?
Yeah, I'd start getting delirious, start talking about random stuff. I mean, we're already pretty random, so definitely get a little out there if the night went too late.
Well, that's, of course, if Big God's Jackals are able to take a game off of eUnited here. They did have early game advantages in the top and the bottom lane, but they were unable to convert them into objective control and unable to convert that into a win. eUnited has definitely been one of the more macro-dominant teams as they do kind of get spotted out this little level 1 invade going on the bottom side, but nothing too much burn there.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see the Graves make his way down there as well, but he's got enough time to make it back up to the top side. Gonna start off on this blue buff, no surprise. Does not have a leash to help him out, and with Licorice going into the top side, Graves was not spotted in that little bot lane place, so they might be able to fake out Big God Jackals into making him think that Graves was starting on the top side of the map.
It's actually interesting because this is the first match that we've been able to watch tonight where the junglers, Elise and Graves specifically, the Kazakhs have been the other one, have not started at the Wraith camp. That's kind of been an adaptation more recently. When you have the AoE ability to clear early on, you start with the Wraith camp, get a quick little leash, and we are going to see Gilius utilizing this advantage by starting the blue buff to immediately dash over this Dragon Pit wall and do some counter jungling early on.
Right, looks like he's going to try and steal away this red buff. Elise is pretty far away. He might be able to get this in time.
Oh, he's going buff, 1 camp buff, so this may be Elise running into Gilius. It's a slight experience advantage.
No
for both
smite,
of them are
though.
still going to be level 2. Yeah, Gilius doesn't have the smite
Gonna
available.
need to burst this really quick.
Ooh, instead he's going to turn on to Wiggly, but the burst damage comes out. Wiggly's going to bite forward, has his smite still available. Wiggly now level 3. The repel comes out, but not before Gilius can blast cone over the wall, so Gilius will get out with his life, but he does not get the invade down.
A little surprised not to see any kind of flash follow there. If you get over the wall, get a empowered red buff auto, you might start slowing the Graves. He has a flash as well. Definitely didn't love the way that was played by Gilius overall, but Wiggly able to secure his red buff, force out Gilius, is now going to be able to do a lot of counter jungling on the bot side as Gilius is forced to recall and head up to his top side. A nice advantage for Big God Jackals early.
Yeah, so Wiggly going to be able to be the one that now gets the counter jungling on his side. Meanwhile, on the mid lane matchup, Peek and Move going up against Fox. Peek and Move, another staple of the North American Challenger Series. He did wind up getting one team through the promotion tournament into the LCS. Unfortunately, he actually himself has never played an LCS game. He's going up against Fox in this case, on a champion he's well known for with his Rise, undefeated in the Challenger Series, lots and lots of LCS experience on that side. And like I said, this is where I want to keep my focus on is Rise. It's going to be the one that gets focused down first. The Cocoon lands, but the Cleanse comes out as well. Repel there from Wiggly. They forced out both Summoners from Fox extremely early on.
Yeah, that was a really nice gank coming in for Wiggly. He obviously was in the bot side jungle, counter jungling, and then he leaves the small wolf camp up, walks around over to get a gank off onto the Rise, who was being chunked out by Peek and Wolf already. Now he goes around to the top side to try and force away the Gilius, who's still level 2, sadly. He's struggling to get caught up in this game.
End of the line winds up going in the wrong direction. There's Wiggly hits level 4, 2-level advantage. He's going to take away the Raptor. He will not. But this is an aggressive style of Wiggly that we haven't actually seen. We talked to him earlier, and he said that he was actually focused on communication. He wanted to kind of improve as a team. He wanted to make plays happen for his team. And I guess one of those things is going to be on a pick like this Elise that can be a little bit bully oriented and a little bit more gang-centric in the early game is to just exert his will all across the map. Yeah,
I mean, it's been a great start for him so far. Now, on the flip side, Gilius is going to be able to get some counter jungling down on his own, opening up onto these wolf camps. Eventually, Wiggly's going to have to recall, and during that time, Gilius might be able to make a small comeback into the jungle. As in other lanes, mostly even, Licorice getting the better of RF Legendary on the top side, seeing the reduced trading power of Maokai here. Generally was favored versus Poppy early pre-patch, pre-nerf, so seems like it might have been changed around a little bit here.
Well, Licorice himself has been known to be a force to be reckoned with no matter what kind of tank he's been playing in that top lane. Was RF Legendary. Struggled a little bit. He's kind of split games on a variety of champions, 1-1 on multiple different kinds of carry picks. He had a Camille game that wasn't necessarily the best. He's definitely kind of been targeted by opposing teams. Last game, though, he was able to get advantages over Licorice in the top lane matchup, although that was with the Rumble against the tank. We'll see if with this reduced power Maokai, as you see the biggest nerf being there, the sapling damage.
Can't clear the back line like that anymore.
Yeah, so not going to be able to really just throw one down and be done with it. But teleport coming back in from Licorice, picked up a couple of magic resist items for himself, so any of those trades that you thought were going to be extremely slow beforehand are going to be even slower.
Right, and we see the Moby Boost Elites come out. I mean, this is something Dardoch's a huge fan of, says he wants to buy Moby Boots on every champion possible. And we saw he had a great game versus Acadian in the LCS 2 weeks ago with that Moby Boost Elise, because it gets around so much faster than you think it's going to be able to do. So have to see what Wiggly can convert with that early game lead that he had. Not getting any combat stats is going to need to get it through map advantage.
Well, Wiggly actually was a part of Team Ocean Drake, which is being coached by Team Liquid. At the time, it was Dardoch. So this may be some knowledge imparted by Dardoch to Wiggly. I mean, Dardoch was very vocal about wanting to draft him for that.
From last season, Tom.
Well, but the connection is still there. That if Dardoch wanted Wiggly on his scouting grounds team, and they do converse and they do talk and they do trade secrets, it could be
I'm messing with you.
All right, see, I'm trying to get my analysis down here from my story point of view. You can talk about how Fox is getting some trade damage here that Peek and Move in the mid lane. Those double summoners being burned early on. He has the cleanse back available. His flash still down just a little bit. And both Big God's jungler and mid lane continue to take advantage of this by being rather aggressive on this side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, you see why LeBlanc had been kind of prioritized to get banned away by a lot of teams in the draft phase. Peek and Wolf is bullying this Rise early. I talked about how it's a little hard for the Rise early, but it's not always this bad, as Peek and Wolf shows that he's not just a poke champion player. He can play the assassins too.
Yeah, so that's going to be definitely something that heading into the playoffs, of course, as you mentioned, just at the top of this game, both of these teams have made it into playoffs. They're really just playing to see who's going to be getting to what position, potential tiebreaker situation coming in as well. But at this point in time, Big God's Jackals, they took it to eUnited in game number 1. They're seeing if they can actually split this series 1-1. eUnited has been able to take 2-0s over Team Gates and I believe over Delta Fox, but they have yet be able to take one against any of the teams that are in the playoffs currently. And we do see now Big God Jackals continue to exert some pressure across the map. eUnited being unable to contest their own blue buff being stolen away.
Right, so they have a big lead in the mid and jungle, you could say, but RF Legendary struggling now on the top side, down about 10 CS, getting chunked out by Licorice on the Poppy. Maybe not 100% comfortable with the changes that came in from Maokai. There were a lot of top lane bans, like we said, so maybe forced onto a pick he's not 100% comfortable with, as he is down a lot of CS now and losing trades.
Yeah, I believe there were 5 top lane bans against these 2 top lane players. So the Poppy, being something that Licorice just played last game, was left untargeted, and sticking RF Legendary onto a tank. Like I said, he struggled with a couple of different matchups. His Maokai was 1-1 so far in the Challenger Series. Not necessarily the greatest or the worst, but as you mentioned, pre-Murph Maokai might not be in the most comfortable matchup this time around. And that could just be something that eUnited was focusing on. If RF Legendary is able to get advantages when he was playing on a carry, but he's been an Achilles heel for the team in the past and he was subbed out for Chris, why not target him extremely heavily in pick and ban phase?
Yep, so obviously there's a couple different advantages for teams on the map. eUnited having the advantages in the top lane. Big God Jackals more focused around the mid lane. And the thing about the LeBlanc pick, though, is that we haven't really seen him go and influence other parts of the map. It's great that he's getting a lot of CS lead over Fox. He's chunking him out, making his life very, very difficult. He's not actually converting that into as big a leads as you might see from someone like Phoenix when he had the LeBlanc and he got his first early kill. He went into the jungle and made the other jungler's life hell. And here it looks like the team's trying to set up a dive on the Fox, though. He is going to get turned on to Gilius here to cover his mid laner.
Yeah, he has to immediately burn the cleanser as they see Gilius kind of approaching from the side. So RF Legendary now already behind in that top lane has spent a little bit of time walking towards the mid lane, so he's not going to be getting that CS, but they are providing a little bit of relief for Fox in the mid lane. He has burned double summoners early on due to the gank from Wiggly, but both of us have come back up, so he's weathered the storm of Big God Jackal's early pressure in this mid lane.
Yeah, for the most part, and I mean, you want to see Peek and Wolf start getting on the map, but he, of course, can always follow. Doesn't quite have the Realm Warp quite yet. As always, on Rise, no need to grab that thing in level 1. The range is pretty short, so a lot of people opt not to do that, and it especially makes sense in a matchup when you're losing. You can't go and use it to make plays quite as much as you would if you're winning the matchup, so just focus more on ones that are actually going to help you lane.
Wouldn't be surprised if he waited to level 10 and 11 to get that, because then level 11, you get the second level of it, you can't get the third level, might as well just use it at that point. And by that point in time, he will have gone back, picked up his Rod of Ages, he's been stacking up his tier at some point. Like, he has gone back and picked up an early Null Magic Mantle. That's going to be, of course, to negate some of this pressure that Peek and Wolf is putting out in this early lane phase, but Peek and Wolf's kind of responded themselves, going for some very early Sorcerer's Shoes.
Right, and of course, the thing about level 11 is the range becomes much longer, so you can finally use it to start making substantial map plays versus maybe get over a small wall or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Nocturne effect, where at level 1, your ultimate's really cool, but it's so short, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it can be tough to make good use of it. Here we see Fox trying to open up onto Peek and Wolf. Not going to be able to do so. Graves just helping push out the wave, trying to get a reset off for his mid laner here.
Yeah, Fox very, very low on mana himself, so he's going to wind up going back and buying. Meanwhile, across the map, this has been it was an interesting early game because Big God Jackals had the defense of the invade coming out from Gilius early on. There was some action from Wiggly kind of making moves around the map. But since he's picked up those Moby boots and since we kind of been, crediting him for being able to move around the map because of that, he hasn't really done much with them, and this is kind of delaying a bit of his power.
Right, I mean, this is definitely a little concerning for Big God Jackals. Sure, they have about 1,000 gold lead off the back of their laning advantages, but I think you can look at eUnited and say that they might outscale as the game goes on. I mean, it's difficult to say because a lot of Big God's Jackals team comp is off the fact that they're going to win through picks. So if they instantly kill somebody, yeah, it doesn't matter if your team comp's a little worse. You have a 4v5, but eUnited, with Graves being one of the best junglers, especially as the game gets later due to his high burst and DPS potential, especially when he's not going Moby boots, he'll have a big advantage over Wiggly in the late game.
Said he's picked up 3 swords for himself as well. Fox and Gilius winding catching Wiggly out here. Does have to take the Thresh Lantern from Bionon, as we saw on the toggle of the scoreboard there. The main gold advantages for the side of Big God Jackals are coming through their mid lane and jungle synergy. We've already seen Wiggly and Peek and Wolf kind of abusing Rise in the mid lane matchup, but that's a very interesting story in and of itself. The fact that Peek and Wolf, the challenger AD carry, the challenger mid laner, the Wiggly coming in from the scouting grounds, exerting dominance over, while albeit a later game scaling champion in the mid lane, the established synergy of Fox and Gilius.
Right, and here we see Big God Jackals trying to finally convert that advantage that they have around the mid lane into tangible objectives, starting up onto this Mountain Drake. This is going to be a huge dragon for them if they can pick it up. They do have pressure generally in the game, and so they might be able to use this to start cracking their first ring of turrets, and then hopefully continue snowballing from there. Wiggly going to be able to pick this one up uncontested.
So that means Big God Jackals will, all the fruits of their labor, get themselves a Mountain Drake. They're going to also send Peek and Wolf back into that mid lane and try to continue to pressure this Rise. Already 20 CS advantage, so while they haven't necessarily unlocked the LeBlanc to move around and cause havoc into the other sides of the map, they're still keeping down that Rise. He has picked up his own Catalyst, though, has not yet completed the Rod of Ages, but with all this pressure in the mid lane, with the pressure around Dragon, they're able to secure and take that one down. Looks like they're going to be taking a play around the blue buff area, but a teleport coming in from Licorice. Wiggly might wind up dying for this one, and first blood does go through to Licorice as he came in with the teleport. The Poppy Copter used just to knock up Biano into place. The flash forward and the Rune Prison comes out though, so Fox can be chasing after this one. Deftly and Fox are just combining down onto Biano. It's going to be Fox picking up a kill, so while Rise has been kept down, he unlocks himself with a kill.
All of that vision in the bot side jungle for Big God Jackals, and RF Legendary does not join in on this fight. It's so surprising to see that, because they might not be done yet.
No, actually, Pekin has to flash away from this, and Gilius chasing after him. The collateral damage is back up. It's not going to be able to find a kill.
There's the TP.
At the same time, there comes RF Legendary, but it's outside of the curtain call range. There will be a quick little lockdown from the Jin W coming in, but definitely going to be stayed alive thanks to the wild growth coming out from Lulu. Definitely going to wind up chasing down RF Legendary. Hits the speed patch. He's got no team behind him. RF Legendary going to get turned down by Fox and Gilius. The Meowcat is caught out with nowhere to run. He's going to twist it advance to his death. Another kill goes over to Fox.
A huge mistake out of Big God Jackals. They have been controlling the blue buff constantly this game, and once again, they're telegraphing that they're coming for an invade, so eUnited prepares for it. As soon as that invade starts, Licorice starts getting his TP flank off, and then the fact that Big God Jackals did not match it right away was a huge problem, and you get to see why Licorice is so highly regarded. He's able to get a nice wall stun off and get the first kill for his team, and then they're able to get a chase down to the rest of Big God Jackals.
And so eUnited making moves on this map to kind of come back, and this all started off, like you said, so much vision control, didn't even clear out that ward, and there's no teleport in response.
Right, I mean, it makes sense that, like I said, it was a little telegraphed, so yeah, eUnited knows to make sure that they have some wards set up for this, but you have to know that that TP is coming, and there's no reason that RF Legendary couldn't match it in some capacity, and then it's too easy for eUnited to continue chasing once you already get that initial kill, so big mistake there for Big God Jackals. They're going to lose a kill, 3 kills, I mean, and see their gold lead as well.
Well, Poppy actually winds up securing that red buff as well, and they burn the flash away from Wiggly, so that's going to be another setback here as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow does wind up finding a Pekin move, but...
Tag.
Yeah, he's frozen. It's freeze tag.
Yep. Got you. Just showing that I can hit these.
Definitely just showing that, hey, later on, when we have a team around, it's going to be dangerous.
Yep, but despite that team fight victory, eUnited being able to grab the 1,000 gold lead, not actually able to get any objectives off of it, and Big God Jackal starting to get a lot of damage down onto this bot outer turret of eUnited.
Well, they have been able to get some kills down onto the Rise, who was kept down in the lane phase. And I was saying it was okay because Pekin Wolf was shutting down the Rise, but now he's the one that's potentially going to get shut down here. An instant cleanse comes out from Fox from that cocoon. Wiggly has no flash available. The Realm Ward's being channeled. They are going to wind up taking that one just to catch back up. The Rune Prison locks him down. Fox goes on a killing spree, and that Rise, I don't think he's behind anymore.
There's that jungle mid synergy that we were talking about out of eUnited. Initially, Fox is getting defeated in the 1v1, but that doesn't matter if your team synergy is way better. So Licorice able to win along the top side, eventually gets a good TP flank off on a invade out of Big God Jackals. Once Fox is back into the game, they realize now we can start pressuring around the mid lane. Gilius comes mid after having to cover for Fox Lot to now turn plays with him instead.
Yeah, so that's going to be first tower going down to eUnited as well. So while things are going great for Big God Jackals in the early game, things have turned completely on their head. It's 4 kills to 0. The tower goes down. The gold advantage is now 3,000 in favor of eUnited, all off of the back of a misstep and then a couple of bobbled plays after that.
And I mean, you got to give credit to eUnited for being able to recognize what was happening. I mean, these are not complete missteps out of Big God Jackals. This is more punishes out of eUnited, like I was saying, because that invade was very telegraphed on the blue buff. They did one previously, which the first time Gilius traded the blue buff steals. Next time around, once again, he's Wiggly is grouped up with Biano. They're going for deep vision. That just means there's another blue buff invade coming. eUnited has enough vision down that they're able to get the TP flank off and kind of jump that play before anything really gets started for Big God Jackals. And I mean, credit to them. That's basically what turned this game around.
Yeah, and I was saying that the the mid and jungle synergy between Big God Jackals was impressive compared to the one of Fox and Gilish. It's been an established synergy throughout a couple of splits of the EULCS, but I mean, they shut me up really quick and completely turned it around. Big God Jackals, though, that bottom lane tower is already extremely low. They're going to zone away the bottom lane of eUnited. They are going to be able to get that tower, but Pekin Wolf's going to get locked up on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and this may be another fight going down. There's already a Poppy in the back line as he's going to charge back down onto Pekin Wolf. He has to use the distortion to try to get away, but he just starts backwards. He's going to sacrifice himself to try to get the rest of his team out of there. Collateral damage comes across, but will not find any more kills. This is eUnited now, focusing down on this bottom lane tower. Curtain call gets used, but immediately canceled after 2 quick shots. It's going to be another tower off the back of a fight from eUnited.
That's not safe, my guy. You can't just open up just a little bit behind your turret when there's a 5-man push coming your way. had to run away. And RF Legendary, once again, not joining in on the play. I think his teleport might have just come up after that play had started. They were a little desynced in the timing.
Oh, Wiggly!
Wiggly gets caught under his turret. They're going to be able to try and push onto the second bottom turret, going for their inner, getting a 3-to-1 turret advantage now, potentially, seeing if RF Legendary might be able to match on the top side.
Yeah, well, it looks like he is going to continue to try to push down on that top lane tower, but Licorice isn't done quite yet. Sunfire, Kate, Spectre's Cow, and a pair of Merc Treads on his side. But RF Legendary, not exactly taking this tower down the fastest in the world, but it will eventually fall. But that's going to be multiple kills on the bottom lane, 2 towers traded for 1, and there's teleport available, but RF Legendary has not shown a chance for utilizing that one the best so far this game.
Yeah, and a 3K gold deficit is starting to get fairly difficult for Big God Jackals to recover from. If they can start finding some picks now that the map's opened up, they're not in the worst position, but it's going to get harder and harder from here as we see people trying to open up on the Fox. Lulu was in range, though, so it wasn't totally crazy for Fox to stay around there and try and trade. Pekin Wolf does force the Lulu ult out for free, basically, though, which is nice. But not actually able to get anything off of it.
Nah, Fox trying to get a cheeky little bait, and they're going to flash forward. The Rune Person goes down. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow will fall, but it winds up hitting the clone, so looks like Pekin Wolf's going to stay alive, and eUnited, they're getting aggressive. They're getting feisty.
Pretty ballsy by Pekin Wolf there not to flash out. Trust his skills. He's able to stay alive. Fox blows up the clone, not actually able to get the real thing.
So eUnited 6 kills to 0 now, and kind of opening things up now. It was a lot of Big God's Jackals in the early stages of this game, but I mean, that was like, 10 or so minutes ago. It's gonna be a second dragon now going over to the side of eUnited. So they were gonna, the first dragon of the game for them. It's the second dragon of the game in general. It's gonna be a Cloud Drake, not gonna be the same as the Mountain Drake that Big God's Jackals has, but this is them taking back control of the map.
Right, you talk about the jungle mid synergy from Big God Jackals looking good as they land a hook onto Gilius, follow up with a chain CC. Gilius could be in trouble here.
Ooh, yeah, he gets locked up, but he flashes out of the box. He's not going to take that last bit of damage to take him down, so he will wind up surviving, but...
That was very dangerous with the fact that Lulu's ultimate was forced out previously by Pekin Wolf, not available there to keep Gilius alive, but he is able to get out by the skin of his teeth. But like I was saying, the mid-jungle synergy by Gilius and Fox, while it might not be the conventional sense where you're forcing a lot of plays together, they did do a good job of covering for each other. So there were a lot of invades onto Gilius early on, but he was able to stay relevant enough. And then when Fox started getting chunked out by Pekin Wolf, Gilius was there to cover him, so there was no dive available. That was actually really, really important in the course of this game.
Yeah, because that also bought time for wasted time from RF Legendary trying to get a roam into that mid lane. Now Fox gonna put on his dancing shoes as Pekin Wolf and Wiggly are kind of go in on him. But now this is Fox's rise with, an Abyssal Scepter, Rod of Ages, and Tear. He's turning this fight around. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gonna go a little bit too wide. But yeah, now that eUnited has kind of grouped up, Fox, after a dance in a 1v2 situation, is able to help his team secure that tower.
Yep, up to a 4,000 gold lead now, up 4 turrets to 2. And it's getting scary. We talked about how we think eUnited's team comp probably better at team fighting, and it's getting to that mid-game portion now in 20 minutes into the game, and it's getting harder and harder for Big God Jackals to find these pickoff attempts. Oh, Pekin Wolf loses the 1v1, goes down to Fox.
Oh, that's never going to be a good sign. A 5-0-1 rise now. Fox is definitely online with this rise pickup. There's also a 2-0-2 copy to serve as a front line. Actually, not even going for a finish on an additional tank gunner, but picking up the Sheen, potentially going for an Iceborne Gauntlet. That could be just a poppy that's not only going to be tanky as heck, but also dishing out a lot of damage, as now eUnited is going to be turning on to Biano. The Wild Good does have to get used on the Licorice. RF Legendary, Post-Eventual Maelstrom has to try to flash away. The Run Ward's coming in from Fox, but this is going to be used as a deterring ultimate, as the tower is going to wind up falling down, the 5th one of the game. The curtain call comes out, but Fabius is going to be landing a lot of shots on the Licorice. The Cocoon afterwards, the Deadly Flourish will lock nobody down. A Spider Lane explodes, and eUnited emerge from that victorious with another tower.
Right, I'll be able to, grow their lead up to almost 6K now. They're doing a great job of continuing to slowly spread this advantage. It's a little reminiscent to how GoldCon United was playing, though. Big God Jackals is being a little bit more active on their own part. They tried to make that play on the top side. Well played by Fox to make it a 2v1 as he's not done yet. Opens up onto Pekin Wolf yet again.
From like half HP, he takes Pekin Wolf down to his level in that circumstance. That is a very, very beefy rise, a very, very fed rise. I don't think Pekin Wolf could even stand toe-to-toe.
It's so rough to watch for that LeBlanc player, because, I mean, this is the kind of thing where it's going to be a lot of 1-3-1ing in the side lanes, and if Pekin Wolf was ahead, he starts destroying Rise in these kinds of trades, but he's playing from so far behind after Fox picked up so many kills. You see just how hard it is with that lockdown CC. So easy for Fox to hold him in place and get a combo off.
Yeah, I mean, Pekin Wolf, that just happened beforehand, and then we just kind of saw there him try to do it again. Definitely sends a warning arrow across the map towards Big God's Jackals. And while Big God's Jackals have been able to take some towers, have been able to take Dragon, they haven't been able to capitalize on any kills. So eUnited, I'm going to call this one a no-hitter so far.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, because it's not quite a perfect game. The turrets have been traded a little bit, but not actually able to get... I mean, they also gave up a Dragon. Really not close to a perfect game at all. What would this be?
A no-hitter.
No-hitters are really good, though.
Yeah, but so is not giving up any deaths and winning a game, especially one that could catapult you into first place in the playoffs.
Fair enough, fair enough. We'll go with no-hitter.
I like that. United, while they may be going for a no-hitter, still have a decent amount of damage to do on this map. Ground Warp comes in. Fox just wants the continued 1v1 against Peek-a-Move, as he's going to wind up trying to trade down on him, but Peek-a-Move has learned from his previous 2 encounters to get the heck out of dodge there, not wanting to go toe-to-toe against Fox's Rise anymore.
Right, and I mean, it's really tough for Big God Jackals to kind of play their comp out from this far behind. They're fairly similar in that they like going for 1-3-1s, both of them, but Big God Jackals is a little bit more focused on the pickoffs, but it's so hard to do that when the enemy team has vision control of your jungle. It's hard to find an angle to actually open up onto somebody. As we see, Wiggly trying to find Fox here. Fox is a little deep, trying to get a dive on the Peek-a-Wolf, so here comes the teleport.
Well, they're going after the LeBlanc yet again. A flash forward from Fox. He's going to get locked up and shut down there. There goes the no-hitter. We don't care what it's called anymore. But the rest of eUnited turning on to Bayano. Definitely going to pick up a kill for himself. But it's going to be turnaround kills as Graves winds up going down here. It's going to fall. We have Licorice in the middle of the fray. Now everybody else is joined up for the fight, and Licorice will be the first one to get a kill. Wiggly has to flash away with a flash forward from Deathly. He's going to be able to pick up a kill. He will get a kill onto Wiggly. There's going to be a kill picked up by Zazel as well, as he wants to finally take it down to LeBlanc. Fabi's going to be able to trade a kill, but now he's stuck between way too many members of eUnited. That's going to be an ace for eUnited.
Oh, Big God Jackal started off fairly well as Fox focused a little too hard on diving the LeBlanc, as you know, Wiggly already had the angle on him. It was a nice TP by Licorice trying to help out in the dive, but Fox gets popped before anything else can happen. It looks like a 4v5 for Big God Jackals, but they're not able to close out on many other kills.
Yeah, and we can take a look at how this all started. It was eUnited continuing their aggression in this Fox versus Peek-a-Move saga, but the rest of the team was here to collapse, and they take out Fox, so they think they can take this fight.
Right, and they open up onto Gilius as well. You see the Fabi ultimate coming in, and RF Legendary is in the middle of the team, but he's not actually able to get down onto anyone else, and Fabi does not get engaged in the fight. It is a little risky, but there's not a ton of damage there for them to focus you down, and they're already hitting your front line. You think potentially he can walk up there, and this is one of the criticisms of Fabi from his time on Team Liquid. He generally played situations too safe. Was not able to get much damage in, and here we kind of see another example of that, where you lose that fight if you don't walk up, and maybe you lose it if you do walk up as well, but I think you have to take that risk.
Well, Fabi did wind up using the curtain call, but the fact of the matter is he's so far away from the rest of his team when he's using that one, and he has to get into a situation where he feels safe enough to do it. We saw the bottom lane, he had to cancel it earlier on. As eUnited now, they missed the Ash Hour early on to start this off, but Fox at this point is so far ahead, he has really no heed for what the enemy teams will be throwing at him. The Seraph Embrace has been completed. He's just completely zoning them out.
Right, I mean, it's a lot of skill shots. That's a big difference between the team comp that we saw out of Tempo Storm. There's a lot of guaranteed lockdown CC where Malzahar can start stuff off, and then all the other skill shots become easier. Big God Jackals don't have that guaranteed one other than the Maokai to start it off. So it's a lot harder to hit the Thresh hooks, the LeBlanc chains, the Elise cocoons if you don't have a guaranteed one at the beginning of the fight. So there you see Fox on Rise, a very fast champion, assuming he gets a combo off, able to dodge all those skill shots, doesn't have to be scared.
So that is going to be eUnited picking up another dragon for themselves. It'll be a Cloud Drake going over, so it'll be the second dragon of the game for them. They also have the Baron buff on the map. They've already established dominance into the enemy side of the jungle. They haven't put up the most wards in the world for it, but they are warding just enough to be able to pick people out of position, just like Wiggly. Blowing up as much as possible. They're going to use the Realm Warp to try to chase after the Thresh Lantern. Wiggly is finally going to follow Zazel, flashes forward and picks up that kill. The curtain call is out, but all the shots are being blocked up by Licorice's Puppy. Well, except for the crit shot. Lands onto Deathly, but that's going to be Jungler down and Baron being looked at by eUnited.
I mean, you basically got the most important kill you could hope for in a fight like that. If you can grab more, great, but if you're going to get one kill, killing the jungler is great because it opens up that Baron buff, like you said. So eUnited, after getting that first pick off, is going to turn onto the Baron. They got a lot of damage. They're melting it down very quickly.
Big is around the area,
be a little careful, though.
Yeah, the Baron's down about 3,000 HP. ARF Legendary's in the fray. eUnited's actually dropping extremely low. Zazel winds up falling, but they trade Peek-a-Move for that life. They stop the Baron attempt from Big God Jackals, but it's going to be ARF Legendary getting followed up on. Another kill winds up going down. They trade 2 for 1 after that, but they do stop the Baron for now.
I mean, you got to be pretty happy with that if you're Big God Jackals. Not giving up the Baron buff is the most important thing that can happen in that situation. Sure, you give up 2 kills for 1 to do so, but you got to get something back, and stopping the Baron basically slows this game down, maybe gives you a little bit more time to find better fights to look for. As we'll take another look at this one. Starting off with RF Legendary, frontlining fairly well.
Yeah, and this is RF Legendary just kind of coming in and zoning them away. And although Big Gods Jackals' main prerogative here is to stop the Baron, they see some very low health bars. They immediately try to turn on to them, but it is going to be eUnited. Just a couple members too strong, going to be taking a fight.
Yeah, and I think you see Licorice there being such a threat for his team. The number of times he's gotten these kind of flash wall stuns off on the Fabi in this game has been pretty huge. I think there's been at least 3 that I've seen. Fabi does not seem like he knows how to deal with it. He's playing Jhin. We talk about how it's hard to get in range, but he's got him a number of times here.
Yeah, that's very true. So 15 kills now to 4. eUnited have definitely gotten in range enough to kill him at least once, as Wiggly's going to be caught out yet again. This Elise pickup was effective early on, but the later the game goes, the less effective it's going to be. Will has some fancy moves with the Repel to just grab the Lantern and get himself out of that sticky situation, but eUnited at this point in time, they're going to continue to push up this mid lane. They already have the vision control around Baron. They could just fall back and start that up again, and they will.
That's what they're going for. Wiggly having to recall now. He's in his base just under the fountain. It's going to be hard for him to get in range to try and contest this. We talk about eUnited having pretty good damage overall on the Baron, and Big God Jackals are contesting this way too slow. eUnited's going to pick this one up.
Already want it going down. The curtain call is out, but the Ash Arrow is there. It's going to lock onto RF Legendary, so he's going to get stunned. Eventual Maelstrom pop. The Realm Warp goes directly onto Wiggly and to Fabi. Wiggly's going to wind up having to repel out of that when the collateral damage comes across, but all the members of Big God's Jackals are just melting under this relentless assault from eUnited. Licorice is trying to use the clone to get even closer to peek and move. He will wind up getting hooked up, but he will not get locked up there by the Deadly Flourish. There's a couple of two quick kills picked up for eUnited. Now with Baron buff, they're pushing down mid lane.
It's going to be really hard for Big God Jackals to try and defend this turret. They have no front line against a Baron buffed up eUnited. Licorice just tanking this turret. He doesn't care. They grab the first inhibitor turret, finally cracking the base. Only 29 minutes in, actually, so pretty early on. They grab the first inhibitor. They can potentially keep pushing on.
Yeah, they're looking to end here.
They got 15 seconds before anyone comes up. This might be enough time, though. They have to be a little careful.
No, the first Nexus towers already go down, and nobody from Big God Jackals is really responding or respawning at this point. Wiggly will finally come back up. Pick and move once it going in,
nice
but the Poppy denial right there definitely shuts him down. That's going to be another kill for eUnited. The Nexus towers are down. The Nexus is exposed, and with that, eUnited are going to be taking one last fight to Big God's Jackals. They're going to be taking the game. They will solidify themselves for first place. That means we have a tiebreaker match, Mark.
We have a tiebreaker, Tom?
We have a tiebreaker.
It's the one for first place, correct?
No, it's going to be for second place.
Oh, that's right.
eUnited, though, they're padding their stats.
Oh, come on,
they're
guys.
taking this one slow.
We got another game coming. Hurry up.
So they are able to take down Big God's Jackals. That's going to be 2 O's across the board tonight.
Yeah,
it's going to be...
That's going to grab sole possession of first place for eUnited. And I got to say, I actually really like the way they look as a team, showing that they can win from behind. They were not afraid to force a play when they saw an opportunity to do so, despite the fact that the mid jungle was not going well for them early in the game.
Yeah, and that was just something that they were able to actually bounce back from. We saw Gilius get a little bit too aggressive with his level 1 invade, but it all worked out for them. Even though Fox fell behind in the mid game, they relied on that synergy. They had winning lanes on the bottom side of the map. They had a winning lane matchup in the top side of the map, which they executed through a very top-heavy pick and ban phase, so they realized that they had things to fall back on, and the Rise eventually was going to get fed.
Right, I mean, it came down to just overall great play by Licorice. He started the initial fight off with that great TP on that invade, like we were saying. That opened it up. His team played well from there, Fox and Gilius being important members of that, but after that, he had a number of great stuns in team fights, especially on Fabi, making it really difficult for him to get involved in the fights overall.
And eUnited as an entire team actually has some really great team fights that gave them huge advantages, including an ace, just only 25 minutes into the game. It was just something that just kind of popped up. They were getting extremely aggressive once Fox wound up getting ahead, and they were actually able to capitalize on this, even though Fox and Gilius wound up going down in this fight.
Yeah, this was a little bit of an overextension by Fox. It's nice he's able to chunk out Peek and Wolf at the start, and then we see Fabi ulting in from the top, and it looks like things are going well for Big God Jackals at the start, but we talk about how, despite it being a 4v3 here, Fabi doesn't actually contribute to the fight at all. You see him pacing back and forth, so it ends up being a 3v3, and the fact that eUnited is still ahead at this point in the game, definitely is able to flash in, start cleaning up the rest of these kills. And then Fabi, a little too late, finally gets involved in the team fight, and there's Licorice stunning him up. And That's going to be the first huge team fight win for eUnited. They had been winning fights over the course of the game. They grew their lead slowly over time, despite being behind initially. And then once they had that big fight, they started forcing around Baron and showed that they knew how to turn off and prioritize objectives correctly.
And just 5 minutes later, the game was over at that point because they were able to turn 2 quick Baron baits. They were able to secure the Baron and wind up taking the game. But you don't have to hear it from us. You can hear it from the guy we have joining us on the desk now. Definitely, you guys took a 2-0 here. That solidifies you in first place. I just got to ask you, how does that feel?
It feels really good. We're finally locked for first. We have a good playoff seed for the playoffs, and I'm just happy for whatever comes in the future.
So Ash has been kind of one of your big champions over the course of this Challenger Series. Do you think that you excel in the kind of utility-focused AD carry meta, or are you competent on any champion should there be a patch or something like that?
Actually, I think I'm kind of the opposite.
Right.
I struggle with utility AD carries. I really like to play like Lucian, Ezreal, auto attack AD carries, also like Caitlyn or Sivir. And I think right now it's really hard for me, but my team's really helping me.
So be worried if the meta changes, because definitely is going to get even better is what he's saying.
Yeah, you've already had a very impressive record on some of this. We saw, of course, the Caitlyn pickup as well. But you're on a team with a lot of mid lane experience, a lot of jungle experience. But you and Licorice has kind of been like driving forces for the team and kind of like a safety net for Fox and Gilius. We can see them get a little aggressive like we did in that replay right there. How's it kind of just been like growing as an individual player coming from the scouting grounds and now joining into this team that's first place?
Well, with Fox and Gilius, they're usually, veterans are like the smart ones. They're also really smart. I'm not saying they're not smart.
Where are we going here? Careful.
No, they're really smart, but they like to play really aggressive, and it's like calculated aggression, but sometimes it doesn't work. And me and Licorice are always there to like be the safety net,
Right. I think it's important to have that kind of aggression in a team comp or in a team setting, because we've seen a number of teams, something like Goldcoin United, sometimes not be able to pull that trigger. And you guys, sometimes it doesn't work out, but at least you do have that go button, and you have you and Licorice kind of being more stable in the side lane. So I think overall that works fairly well for your team. And just touching on Licorice a little bit, have you had experience with him in solo queue before you ended up on the same team as him, or was it kind of a surprise to actually like meet and play with this guy?
Well, I think we originally met in solo queue, and then we played on like a Cloud9 Challengers scrim team for like a couple months, and we became like really good friends. We just hang out all day on TeamSpeak, and it's an honor to get to play with him now.
Little bromance budding in the Challenger Series.
Well, you guys have kind of put a target on your heads as the #1 team. We've already, talked to Tempo Storm, who won their matchup before. Goldcorn United earlier in the evening also wound up winning. And they were saying that you guys were definitely one of the teams they were looking out for. So you've solidified yourself in first place. Is there anyone that you're worried about heading into the playoffs?
I think as long as we as a team play well, it doesn't matter who we face. So, yeah.
All right, well, definitely, you guys took the 2-0. You solidified yourself in first place. You don't have to do any tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that, and thanks for joining us on the desk.
Thank you.
All right, guys, with that 2-0 eUnited, like I said, solidify their hold on first place, forcing a tiebreaker for second between Goldcoin United and Tempo Storm. We're so excited about this. Don't go anywhere.
Coverage.
We got bonus coverage for you in just a few minutes. A teleport coming in from Licorice. Wiggly might wind up dying for this one, and first blood does go through to Licorice as he came in with the teleport. An instant cleanse comes out from Fox from that cocoon. Wiggly has no flash available. The Realm Ward's being channeled. They are going to wind up taking that one just to catch back up. The Rune Prison locks him down. He's going to charge back down onto Peekaboo. He has to use the distortion to try to get away, but he just starts backwards. He's going to sacrifice himself to try to get the rest of his team out of there. Wiggly has to flash away with a flash forward from Deathly. He's going to be able to pick up a kill. He will get a kill onto Wiggly. There's going to be a kill picked up by Zazel as well, as he wants to finally take it down to LeBlanc. Fabi's going to be able to trade a kill, but now he's stuck between way too many members of eUnited. The Realm Warp goes directly onto Wiggly and to Fabi. Wiggly's going to wind up having to repel out of that when the collateral damage comes across, but all the members of Big God's Jackals are just melting under this relentless assault from eUnited. That's going to be another kill for eUnited. The Nexus towers are down. The Nexus is exposed, and with that, eUnited are going to be taking one last fight to Big God's Jackals. They're going to be taking the game